Bringing you the latest news from around the world and here at home, I'm Sandro Ferdinando, and here are your headlines for tonight.
President's stance on American agreement.
රටට නොගැලපෙන නොසුදුසු කිසිම විදේශ කිවිසුමක් අත්සන් කරන්න මම ඉඩ තියන්නේ නැහැයි කියන එක ඊටාම පැහැදිලිව මම කියන්නට ඕන. ඊටාම පැහැදිලි.
Reports surface that the two US Senate officials did not follow the due procedure in inspecting lands in Jaffna. Larger 7.1 magnitude quake hit Southern California. Kumara Velgama bids farewell to the Podujanu Perumuna supporters in Badulla.
සමහර අය මෙහි අධිරාජ්‍ය විරෝධී ඇමරිකන්ට විරුද්ධව කෑ ගහනවා. නෝනා ගිහිල්ලා ඩිස්නිලන්ත ඇමරිකාවේ ලොලිපොප් කනවා.
First up in news here at home, President Maithripala Sirisena said he will not allow the signing of any foreign agreement which is detrimental to the country. The head of state made this statement at an event in Monragala today.
The concluding ceremony of Let's Stand Together for the Country, Monragala district program was held at the Bipila Public Grounds today. The fifth phase of the Let's Stand Together for the Country program launched island-wide to identify unresolved issues in rural areas and to find effective solutions to them was commenced on July 6th, centered around Monragala.
At present, the media reports on several controversial agreements. There are claims that the government plans on signing these agreements to betray the nation. They speak of an agreement named SOFA. Then they speak of another agreement named Millennium Challenge Corporation. They also speak of a land act that does not suit our country. I make this very clear. During my tenure as the president, I will not allow anyone to sign any foreign agreement that is unsuitable and detrimental to our country. Certain foreign forces have plans to establish their bases here. They want to make this a center to carry out what they want. However, I reiterate, I will not allow anyone to sign any foreign agreement and enter into the country that will threaten the independence and sovereignty of our nation.
Now, the U.S. Embassy in Sri Lanka tweeted about the Millennium Challenge Corporation today.
In a tweet, the embassy said the Millennium Challenge Corporation is a gift from the American people to the Sri Lankan people. The tweet further states, quote, there has been a lot of misinformation about what it is and what it is not, end quote. Meanwhile, a US embassy spokesperson has said that if Sri Lanka demonstrates a pattern of actions inconsistent with the government's relating to the agreement with the Millennium Challenge Corporation, there can be consequences for the partnership. Speaking to the Daily Mirror newspaper, he added the consequences will include suspending or terminating assistance provided through the agreement to receive $480 million in grant from the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the United States. The spokesperson of the US Embassy said the agreement will increase access to land rights information, helping maximize government revenue from rents on state lands that are leased to the private sector for commercial development. Responding to allegations that the US was trying to take control of land in Sri Lanka under the MCC compact, the spokesperson added, quote, the US will not own, control, or in any way administer land in Sri Lanka under the MCC compact. The government of Sri Lanka will retain oversight and control of land and roads undergoing improvements as part of the MCC compact, end quote.
Although the U.S. Embassy spokesperson said that the Millennium Challenge Corporation will not own or take control over the lands in Sri Lanka, two U.S. Senate officials visited Mailidi, Jaffna and inspected the lands and the Mailidi fisheries harbour yesterday. This is against a backdrop of the construction activities of the Palali airport commenced yesterday with funds provided by India. The U.S. Senate members inspected the lands in Mailidi, which is only 4 kilometers away from the Palali airport. Speaking to News First, Additional Divisional Secretary in Jaffna, Subramaniam Mulitharan, said he authorized the arrival of the two U.S. Senate officials following a phone call from Colombo. However, the Additional Divisional Secretary did not specify as to who made the phone call from Colombo. Meanwhile, News First inquired from the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration and Management, J.J. Ratnasiri, in this regard. The Secretary said Ministry was not aware of this visit made by the U.S. officials. He added that authorities cannot take measures based on instructions given by the embassies in Sri Lanka. The Secretary went on to note that the approval from the Ministry should be obtained prior to such visits. He added that even the diplomatic community must follow the due process of obtaining approval. According to the Secretary, approval must be obtained from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Home Affairs. When inquired from the Secretary to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Gaministan Viratna, he said that the ministry was not informed in this regard. He added that he will inquire into this.
I don't know who comes and leaves. I was not informed about this. I don't know what the US is expecting. This should be looked into by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is a good example to depict that USA is intervening into our affairs. This is something done by the embassies where they have surpassed the governor, the Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Resettlement and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This cannot be accepted. The US ambassador has met me twice before. She has the contact number. She didn't even contact me.
Therefore, the question remains as to who authorized US Senate officials to visit Mailidi in the northern province. What is their intention? The government should be ashamed of itself for allowing foreign powers to infiltrate into our domestic affairs even before signing the agreements. Politicians and professionals expressed their views about US interventions in Sri Lanka.
Even during the war, US forces did not enter the country and aid to defeat the LTTE. It is now they are visiting the country and inspecting land. Who gave them permission to do this? What is their intention? Why are they here? This is a part of their efforts to capture a part of Sri Lanka. They have established various agreements to facilitate this. Sri Lanka is a small island. There is nothing much to give to US or India or China. If we are not giving them any land, and if they claim that they have no plans to take over land, why are they inspecting land in our country? We suspect that plans are already in place to give this land to America. The leaders of this country are attempting to do this in a secretive manner. Since NATO consists of powerful countries, conditions of these countries are maintained in a friendly manner. However, Sri Lanka is a third world country, and agreements established with countries such as us have detrimental effects to our nation. The AXA agreement is based on USA's Jefferson principles. Every country that signed this agreement have faced detrimental consequences. The jurisdiction within the AXA agreement goes beyond the civil and criminal laws in the country. For an example, this is what happened in Pakistan. People know about the history of Pakistan and how it was captured. The same thing happened in Philippines. If Sri Lanka signs this agreement, we will never be able to change it again.
A 7.1 magnitude earthquake has rattled parts of Southern California. This is the biggest tremor to strike in 20 years.
Wait, what's going on?
Are you
You're in your
serious?
first earthquake.
That's an earthquake?
That's the worst it's going to get, right?
Oh, shoot, it's shaking.
feel it?
Look.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Oh,
Is this infrared?
oh,
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let's go in
Look
the
at
hallway.
Shoot, you guys.
Oh my God.
It struck at the shallow depths of 0.9 kilometers and its epicenter was near the city of Ridgechest, about 240 kilometers northeast of Los Angeles. A 6.4 magnitude quake hit on the same area on Thursday at a depth of nearly 11 kilometers. Seismologist Dr. Lucy Jones said the quakes could continue. The earthquake was felt as far as Las Vegas in neighboring state of Nevada and over the border in Mexico. Fires have broken out and emergency services are responding to calls across the state after the quake. There has been no reports of serious injuries so far. The San Bernardino County Fire Department said reports suggest that damages is more significant than yesterday's quake and said they were tackling blazes and gas leaks. Officials said it was unclear how much damage has been caused and how many people have been injured in the state. California is prone to earthquake as it lies on a number of fault regions where tectonic plates come together.
It's time for a commercial break, and I'll be back with more news right after this.
Life is a beautiful journey of many challenges. Believe in yourself. Move forward with courage and determination. The right support and companionship will give strength and guidance to achieve your desires. Be confident. Be victorious. So go ahead. Explore life. We are with you. Allianz Insurance.
I'm back. Continuing in more local news, the Consumer Protection Unit of Sri Lanka Customs seized 65 freight containers containing used mattresses imported from the United Kingdom.
Customs media spokesperson Sunil Jayaratne stressed there is serious concern over the material as it could be classified as waste, adding certain elements in the mattresses could pose a threat to the environment. He said several freight containers will be selected at random on Monday for inspection. A private company in Sri Lanka had imported the mattresses from the UK. It is reported over 100 freight containers with similar mattresses were imported on an earlier occasion as well. The global trash trade has reached a turning point where wealthier nations have long shipped their waste to the developing world to be processed, but in recent months, some nations in Southeast Asia have begun sending the exports, much of it contaminated plastic and trash that is unrecyclable, back to where it came from. The pushback comes as containers of trash continue to accumulate on the shores of countries like China, Malaysia, Thailand and the Philippines, which are increasingly worried that the environmental costs are greater than the income they bring in from importing the waste. However, in many cases, industrialized countries would rather ship the waste to developing nations instead of dealing with the cost and difficulties of proper waste disposal. The garbage is exported from around a dozen developed countries, including the US, Canada, France, Belgium, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands and the UK. According to the BBC, the European Union is the world's biggest exporter of waste, while the US is the largest single country source. Despite the various efforts made to curb the dumping of waste in countries, unfortunately unequipped to handle them, the illegal practice continues. Ghana, Africa is one of the countries where e-waste from all over the world go to die. Every day, the port city of Lagos in Nigeria receive an estimated 15 shipping containers filled with discarded electronics. Bangladesh has a running history of being a dumping ground for everything from plastic, waste and asbestos to defective steel, waste oil, lead waste and used batteries from different countries. Experts continuously warn that the attempts to dispose waste of foreign nations in Sri Lanka through the Singapore-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement. Sri Lanka is yet to make a strong stand against the dumping of foreign waste as in China, Malaysia, Thailand and Philippines. Massive garbage mounds are seen in areas like Kandy, Mathura and Karadiana, where excessive amounts of garbage are being disposed without a proper disposal system. The clinical waste that washed up on the shores from Udupi to Norochole in the Puttalam district was also a similar instance.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa, expressed the following views on foreign policy.
Some question as to what is Sajith Premadasa's policy on foreign affairs. The model village we are vesting in the public today is the result of one of my dealings with the international community. When we deal with foreign countries, every transaction should bring benefit and add value to our motherland. This is how my father dealt with the international community. It was upon my request to the government of India that we received concessionary loans amounting to 1.2 billion to construct houses in Sri Lanka. If the public considers me suitable and gives me the necessary state of powers, Ranasinghe Premadasa's son will deal with foreign countries and prove his capabilities. The Hambantota port was constructed with loans with very high interest rates. Despite the change in governments, the loans must be repaid. The minister expressed these views at the event to declare open the 213th model village constructed under the Samata Sevana housing program. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and Acting High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Dr. Shifaq M. Angule were also present. This village was built with the funds received from the Government of India. This model village has been named Rani Dugama and was constructed at a cost of 33.3 million rupees. The model village consists of 24 houses.
Sri Lanka is an island blessed by nature with an abundance of natural resources. Adding to this list, a new coral reef was discovered in the seas of Kanakasanthuré, Jaffna.
A diving team attached to the Northern Naval Command had discovered a beautiful coral reef which remained a well-hidden secret until a recent deep-sea expedition carried out over the past week in Kanakasanthuré. The coral reef extends approximately 400 meters along the seaward side of the breakwater. Under the directives of the Command of the Navy, Vice Admiral Pierre de Silva, the Northern Naval Command is committed to protect these coral reefs as well as conserve underwater marine sites in the Northern Sea.
Up next is Action TV.
The Board of Directors of the Ceylon Electricity Board is due to meet next Tuesday, the 9th of July. Of the several matters to be discussed, the board will make a decision regarding the removal of a Grade 1 engineer who has served the CEB for more than 30 years. The engineer was suspended from service on the 12th of July last year, while serving as the Deputy General Manager of Power Purchasing. The suspension of his service led to much controversy as the respective officer had not committed any wrongdoing apart from rejecting to comply with an unlawful agreement between the Ceylon Electricity Board and a private power plant to purchase power. However, in September, the suspension was lifted and the officer was reinstated in a different position that was never heard of in the history of the CEB. Following his reinstatement, an inquiry under 17 charges was launched against the officer. The officer has been proven guilty of all 17 charges. It must be noted that 15 of the 17 charges have no connection with the CEB. On the 19th of last month, the final report on this inquiry was considered during a board meeting at the CEB. However, the meeting was convened without the participation of one of its members, an acting director of the CEB. Apart from the chairman and the deputy chairman of the CEB, the acting director of the board has been appointed by the subject minister. The acting director in a letter has already informed the board that the inquiry launched against the respective employee was unfair and unlawful. Therefore, the board of directors of the CEB, that comprises of members representing the Ministry of Public Administration, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the General Treasury and the President, that is due to meet next Tuesday, will thoroughly consider the letter addressed to the board by one of its own members. However, if a decision is taken to remove the officer based on a false investigation report, this action will no doubt go down in history as an uncivilized and unethical act.
Journalists question Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca on the next presidential candidate from the United National Party following an event in Maharakadawatha yesterday.
දැන් ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා ඔබතුමාලා පක්ෂයෙන් නම් කරලා තියෙනවද කොහොමද?
ආව නම් කරලා නැහැ.
ඔබතුමාට බාර දුන්නත් ඔබතුමා පිළිගන්නවද?
ඔය ඉතින් යම්කිසි ආකාරයකින් ඉල්ලීම ආවොත් එහෙම වුණා සලකලා බලන්න පුළුවන් අපට.
මංගල සමරය කියනවා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා තමයි ජනාධිපතිවරණයට පිළිපිට කියලා.
ඔව් ඒක තමයි මෙතන තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ.
Yes, there is an issue here. They propose various names having their personal agendas on mind, but we can't agree with them. This is a party. Things should take place according to its constitution. You can't just propose names like that.
එක එක කැක්කුම් අනුව එහෙම නම් යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න බෑනේ.
Former General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, expressed these views regarding the discussions held to form a new alliance between the SLFP and the SLPP in Kandy today. Discussions were held to name it the Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Peramuna. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna handed this name and agenda to us today. Our agenda was handed over to the SLPP as well. Professor G.L. Pires is overseas right now. We are waiting his arrival to continue these talks. We have to discuss how the power would be exchanged between the parties, how the portions of the alliance will be given, and how we will function as an alliance. But as the Central Working Committee of the party, we have discussed and reached an agreement that the SLFP should be represented in the upcoming presidential election.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය ඉදිරි ජනාධිපතිවරණයට ඉදිරිපත් විය යුතුයි කියන අදහස.
When he concludes one media briefing, those from the opposition question whether he is out of his mind. Who do we believe? In that case, the president and the opposition leader must sit together and make a formal announcement that they have joined hands and there is no issue in this regard. However, this is yet to happen. It is the members of the Rajapaksa family who are against Gotabaya Rajapaksa coming forward as the next presidential candidate.
බාප්පයි කියලා කියන්නකො. ඒක නිසා ගෝඨාභය එනවට වැඩියෙන්ම විරුද්ධ රාජපක්ෂ පවුලේ අය. අපිව ප්‍රශ්න කරනවා අපේ ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා කවුද කියලා.
They question us on who is a presidential candidate is. On the 11th of August, we will name our candidate, who will bring victory to both you and me. A leader who can unite the North, South and the East. Speaking at the youth forum of the UPFA electorate in Nakurasa, Namal Rajapaksa expressed the following views with the participation of a group including MP Dallas Alaperuma. I saw in media reports that the president's faction will seek assistance from courts to extend the date of the presidential election. But remember, if by chance they make that indecent decision, the government will be dead from that point.
A
majority from the JVP or the UNP or Rajita says that I am connected to drug trafficking with Makhandure Madush. I stand straight and challenge the JVP. An MP from the JVP who contested during the previous election from the national list is a prime suspect for a murder by Makhandure Madush and is now under police arrest. I challenge Rachita Senaratne. If Makhandure Madush has ever called me or spent a single rupee on behalf of me, prove it. If he manages to prove at least one of those claims, I will take off my national dress, throw it to the Devanna Voya, go to Anuradhapura with my clothes off and apologize from the entire nation. If Rajita Senaratne fails to prove this, if you can, walk to Kalutara from Parliament.
Continuing in more local news, a ceremony to felicitate MP Kumaravelgama, who was removed from the SLPP district leadership, was held in Badulla today. A group representing the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was also present here. Don't think that I obtained the membership of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party as a new member. I was part of the SLFP from back then and I was supporting Pohottua whilst being a member of the SLFP. I'm talking against the debate on America. The families of our party's chief organizers are in America. They're keeping both their feet in America and talking ill about it. Once these leaders come into power, are they going to be against America? Some may come back after withdrawing their citizenship. Some are shouting and showing their displeasure about the American empire, whilst his wife is going to Disneyland and enjoying sweets. This is after saying one thing to the country. Don't cast your vote and give the power to those who mislead you. If you do, you will realize these mistakes soon. According to seniority, I'm placed third in the joint opposition. However, there are two ahead of me. That was the Ruwan Kakulu preschool. While the leaders of the country are constantly about development, this is one of the many buildings that is in a dilapidated state, leading to great difficulties for many students. This report is filed from the Saputantrikanda area in Valasmulla.
Saputantrikanda is located in the Valasmulla division along the Rammallavarapitiya mountains. This is a beautiful village that has come forward from one generation to another and at present accommodates around 450 families. On the night of the 15th of May in 2003, disaster struck as many families were buried following a landslide, leaving the area residents with much grief and scarred memories. Although the landslide destroyed the Saputantrikanda Junior School, this preschool remained unharmed. Later on, this preschool was upgraded to help children study, but with time, this preschool is now prone to landslides. Several years ago, a total number of 20 students obtained education in this school. While around 15 years have passed since then, this building is now in a dilapidated state. There were 15 students last year. However, due to the prevailing condition of the building, there are only about 6 to 7 students. Attendance is very poor. This teacher, who speaks on behalf of her students, travels 20 miles daily to ensure they receive a proper education. However, politicians and the relevant authorities have turned a deaf ear to their problems. Despite all these issues, these children continue their studies in this building as their parents cannot afford to seek other options.
The promotional tour of the Abhiman Varam Scholarship Program, jointly powered by Anchor and the Champions Network, kicked off for the 5th consecutive day today in 3 districts.
Varam Perakaman Charika.
Abhiman, 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 Mulu Jeevitayata Abhiman.
The 5th phase of the promotional tour of the Abhiman Varam Scholarship Program took place in the Polonnaruwa, Monragala and Marpally districts today. Our teams visited the Royal Central College in Polonnaruwa this morning.
මගේ බලාපොරොත්තු තමයි කවදායි හොඳ ලේඛිකාවක් වෙන එක. මම හිතනවා මට මේ මගේ බලාපොරොත්තු ඉෂ්ට කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. මම මේ වගේ දුෂ්කර පළාතකට ඇවිල්ලා අපේ හැංගිලා තියෙන දක්ෂතාවන් එලි දක්වන්න අපිට මේ ලබා දුන්න මේ අවස්ථාව ගොඩක් අගය කරනවා අපි.
ඇතැම් වෙලාවට රටේ
Certain subjects are not assessed in the country. Students will be assessed under 10 categories in the Sirasa Abhiman Varam program. We invite students, principals and teachers to participate in this program. Our teams also visited the Polonnaruwa and the Kanduruwala towns to inform the locals of the scholarship program. The promotional campaign also took place in the Mahayangane town. The next phase of the promotional campaign for the Abhiman Varam Scholarship Program 2019 will take place in the Trincomalee and Kurunagal districts tomorrow.
Abhiman Varam Perakama.
And now in sports news, the ICC World Cup match between Sri Lanka and India is currently underway in Leeds. Chasing a score of 265, India were 189 for the loss of no wickets after 30 overs.
Virat Kohli will